I did not vote in yesterday's primary election. And this may come as a surprise to most people that know me, because everybody knows, if you know me, how much I love politics, how much I'm involved in politics, keeping up with it, reading news articles, studying, doing research on people. And I've found post the Charlie Kirk assassination that politics generally has a stranglehold on my perception of the world. And as a Christian, that is not good. I think that that's a sin. Christianity is supposed to be the thing that provides my perception of reality. God defines my perception of reality. And so if I allow worldly things to shadow my perception of reality, then I believe I'm doing something wrong. When we care deeply about something, that's good. I love politics. I find it incredibly fascinating. I think it's fun. And I think it's really important. I think it does matter. But I think a lot of people my age and people older than me, I think in conversations that I have had in the last few months, there's a lot of voters' remorse for what happened in 24. Regardless of how you feel about the particular election and the candidates that were on the ballot, you will be hard stuck to find many people that are satisfied with the government that is currently in place at the presidential level. I have not gotten what I voted for, and I feel incredibly deceived as well. If I'd known that this is what it would look like, I would not have voted for Donald Trump. And then you get people like, what? So you would have voted for Kamala? No. I think I just wouldn't have voted at all. Because this is what it really comes down to for me, and this is why I didn't vote yesterday. I can't believe anything that anyone says to me. Especially people that aren't real people to me, people that I don't know personally. Anybody can say anything. And the older that I get, the more I realize that most people, particularly politicians, people that are on the public forum, if you will, don't believe anything. They will say whatever it is that they feel necessary to say in order to cling to their power, cling to their career, to establish themselves as an important person. Donald Trump's election is a perfect example. No new wars, and yet we started wars. Affordability is one of the most important issues in the country, and now affordability is a Democratic hoax. The destruction of the surveillance state, the prioritization of freedom, and yet we have just given complete power and trillions of dollars to the AI industry. Essentially, everything that was said during the presidential election was said, whether or not it was a lie in the moment, whether or not they knew that this is what they were doing, they were pandering to what they thought people wanted. And it had no relation to what was actually going to take place once power was achieved. So, a lot of people my age were very jazzed about James Fishback. He sounds great. Obviously, it doesn't matter now. But I don't know James Fishback. And I have no idea what it is that he actually believes. Not because I think he's an inherently dishonest person, but because he's not a real person to me. He's a face on a screen, saying things that he knows people want to hear. A great example of this is the way that the messaging has shifted during this primary, and I'm sure will continue to change as we go closer to this general election. Now all of a sudden everybody's talking about fighting the developers and stopping AI development and saving our water and saving our land and fighting back against corporations and helping small business, and all of that pivoting, all of that change has happened in the last few months. And people who have never cared about anything like that, particularly in local elections, if you've been paying attention, people who do not care about that at all of a sudden, that's how they attacked their opponents. Was, oh, this person has been getting money from corporations. They're pro-AI. They're pro-development. And it's like, you don't care about that. You've never cared about that. Why all of a sudden are you talking about it? Well, because it's good messaging. It's what people want to hear. So when they get in there, who knows what they're actually going to do? No one. And if you say that you know, well, I won't say you're being dishonest, but I don't think you have an actual grasp of how politics works in this country. Say whatever needs to be said, and then figure out what you're actually going to do once you have the power, because the power is the point. There's nobody that is actually fighting for anything. And I understand that maybe that's controversial to say, that may be like offensive to, the people that are running. But I see you. I see right through you. And I think most people do as well. Now, what does that actually have to do with me not voting? I, as an American, have a right to vote, a right to choose my leaders, to decide the direction that my country goes, that my state goes, that my local county, my local city goes. But if the people that are running are willing to just say anything and then do anything else once they're actually in power, then me voting is just a popularity contest. It doesn't actually have anything to do with selecting policy decisions as much as it has to do with just picking a person, picking an avatar who will then do whatever the institutional powers want them to do once they get there. And by institutional powers, I mean party politics, I mean developers, I mean like corporations, the people who basically put money into the system, because that's how our system actually works, is who has the most money, they get to decide what direction the policy prescriptions go, not the voter. The voter is the person who must be duped into thinking that the person that they're voting for actually has values. You may have seen the tit for tat that was going on a while ago, and it's the reason I'm off social media at the moment, because I just realized, like, what am I doing? Like, these people aren't real people. But people are offended by me and don't like me because I actually believe things. That's really what it comes down to. Most people aren't offended by your opinion. They're offended that you actually have an opinion. Because in their world, they just do whatever seems popular. They do whatever the crowd should be desiring in that moment, whatever that means. And then again, once they're actually in that position, the crowd doesn't matter anymore. And then it's, well, what do the powerful people want? Because that's how I maintain my position. That's how I stay where I am. But if voting means that I'm picking a person and not picking a policy, then I'm not interested in that. That's not what I'm actually trying to practice myself in democracy. I don't care about people when I'm picking politicians. Because again, I don't think anybody actually believes anything. So what do you actually think? That's what matters to me. And so if I don't think anybody thinks anything, if I believe that they will just say whatever needs to be said, then I'm not interested in participating. I have a right to vote. equally, then, I have a right to not vote. If I have to vote, if I have to pick the lesser of two evils, then that's not a right at all. That's an obligation. And that's not me being free. That's me being a slave. So I'm not going to have voter's remorse this time. I'm going to let God decide who should be in charge, what should happen, because he has a plan. And unfortunately, as it looks to me, that plan looks like my state being paved over, the place that I love losing all character and just being another copy and paste concrete jungle. Then that's his plan. And I trust him. And I need to trust him. Because when I don't trust him, it doesn't matter how good things in my life are, how lovely my life is, how good he is to me on a personal level, and the people around me. Because if I'm obsessing over the things that are happening outside of my control, the external issues, and allowing those to taint my happiness, to taint my contentedness, I'm not trusting God. So this isn't me saying like, oh, you shouldn't have voted. That was bad. Obviously, we should vote. I believe that voting matters. I'm not in the camp where it's like, oh, well, democracy is dead. But for me personally, participating just makes me angry. And I need still to take a step back and put myself in a place where I can trust God more and trust men less. Because these men and women, women too, these men and women are not trustworthy. And not because they're bad people, because they're empty vessels. Because they don't believe anything. They don't have values. They do and they say whatever it is that will establish them. And until that changes, I'm not interested. Thanks.